Okay, so we are live. Hi everyone, my name is Aashna Thakkar. I am the manager of programming at the Regent Park Film Festival. And welcome to our Emerging Directors Spotlight and Pitch Competition information session. Today I'm joined by two CBC execs, Michelle McCree and Mélanie Lê Phan. Michelle is the executive in charge of production at CBC Docs, and Mélanie is the production executive at Digital Originals. So welcome to you both. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hi.
Thanks. Hi.
If you want to take a minute and kind of explain more about what you do at CBC, what your role is, and how you kind of play into our pitch competition, that would be great.
Which one will go first?
Michelle, go for it.
I'll jump in. Mélanie and I actually have similar titles, but sometimes we call ourselves production executives and sometimes we call ourselves executives in charge of production. For me specifically, I oversee The Passionate Eye, which is our 1-hour documentary strand on CBC, characterized by character-driven documentaries, immersive documentaries, docs that land us in a current conversation. I work alongside my colleagues in short docs on the nature of things and doc channel. So we offer a wide range of opportunities for viewers to see documentaries made by filmmakers.
Well, on our side of things, as Aashna mentioned, I work in Digital Originals. And so what is that? It's short form content on CBC Gem. So all of our series go exclusively on the CBC Gem platform. And, we primarily commission scripted short form series. So that's episodes of under 20 minutes. And right now we're really focused on YA programming. So that's anywhere targeting an audience between like 13 and 24. So that's really like our focus at the moment. What I do is that I sit in sort of in the pitch process and through to development and then through to financing and production to launch on the platform. So I'm really the person that you work with at CBC to get the project to its sort of endpoint. So that's me.
Awesome. We're so lucky to have you both, so thank you again. Before I wanted to get into just kind of an overview of what this competition looks like and what applicants should look out for. We do have a lot of this information on our website, which you can read, but today we kind of want to go into a little bit more detail about each thing. And before we start, I want to acknowledge that this information is strictly for our pitch competition, that if you're looking to pitch to CBC, like outside of this, like to look out for their own rules and for their own guidelines. So this is specifically for our pitch competition. So the submissions are open, currently open already, and they'll be open until Sunday, August 29th, and you can find a Google form that you can fill out on our website. And a big thing to note that this is a 2-part event. The first part being the spotlight, which is a showcase of a film that has already been created by you, an emerging filmmaker. And then the pitch part is you're pitching a new project, a short film or series, and this can be scripted or unscripted. And so the submissions close at the end of August, will be shortlisted hopefully around the beginning of September, and then folks will be contacted and the finalists will get to attend a pitch training session with a few great mentors, which TBD, won't give out any names yet, but TBD. And yeah, so that would be a nice opportunity to learn a little bit more about how to pitch, how to put together a pitch in preparation for our closing night event, or closing night or opening night. I believe it's our closing night event for our festival this year. Yeah, and so this, the pitch at our actual event will be a 3-minute pitch, very short, so it has to be super concise. So yeah, again, that training session is there to help the finalists with that. And the jury who will be at the event will be made up of 3 CBC execs. Yeah, and so what you'll get if you win the competition, there will be a winner in both the scripted and unscripted, so there'll be 2 winners altogether, and you will get a development deal with CBC, and $1,000 from RBC to put towards your production. And then a few other things to note. The applicants must be a Canadian citizen or have a permanent resident status. Emerging, and because this is for emerging filmmakers, emerging is defined as someone who has directed or produced no more than 2 films for festival and or broadcast. And CBC employees are not eligible to apply. Yeah, again, all this information, there's a lot of information. A lot of this is on our website already if you want to read it afterwards. But yeah, so as mentioned, the first part of this competition is the spotlight. You do need to submit a spotlight in order to submit a pitch. You have to have both to participate. And your spotlight can be a short film or an episode of a web series, anything short. Yeah, and main thing to keep in mind for that is, considering RPFF's mandate, consider it like a regular festival submission, really. Yeah, so that's kind of it for the spotlight aspect. So I wanted to ask Michelle and Melanie if either of you had any tips in relation to the spotlight. Is there anything that you want to see in spotlight films in relation to the pitch? Like, do you want to see kind of the growth of the filmmakers, or is there anything you yourselves would like to see from the content that we're getting?
I would say that it's always great to see growth, for sure, but I'm also open to seeing range. These days directors, some are doing unscripted and scripted. So if applicants want to showcase the range they have as a filmmaker, I'm super open to that as well.
Yeah, I think it's such a great opportunity for us to get a glimpse into your visual storytelling style. Obviously, there's 3 components to this competition. You have obviously the live component, the paper deliverables for the pitch, and Spotlight is really your chance to show us how you like to tell stories visually, which is so important. And if some of those thematics have connections to what you're pitching, that's great too. I think it's cool to see how each element can complement each other.
Yeah, totally. I think totally the spotlight is a chance to show your range for sure, and show where you kind of want to go with your work as well in the pitch. Awesome. So now I kind of want to move on to the pitch portion. Just some kind of things to keep in mind for the pitch. The pitch project cannot be the same as the spotlight, and it can't be like a continuation or in the same series, I guess. If you were let's say your spotlight film is a short, then you can't pitch a like web series of the same concept. So they do have to be separate. Projects with existing equity investment or distribution commitments are not eligible. Selected finalists, like once you actually know you're going to be a part of the competition, you cannot be pitching your project at another festival. In that case, if that happens, you would have to withdraw from one of the festivals. And in terms of like length of film, you can do 44 minutes maximum for unscripted and 20 minutes for scripted. So no feature films. That's kind of the big rule, no feature films. Yeah, and so as you'll see when you go through the application, you do need to submit a few things, including a log line, a pitch, and a script or treatment. Yeah, so there's a little bit to prepare for this. So I wanted to ask Michelle and Mélanie a little bit more, or I want to get your insights about these categories and what kind of projects that you're looking for. So for Michelle, what are some types of content that CBC Docs is making right now or is hoping to make?
I mean, there's a wide range, really wide range. I think that the best thing I can do is direct you to CBC Gem. And if you go to that app, you'll be able to see the wide range. I would say, generally speaking, our documentaries are character driven. So that's the key thing, is finding that character that really lingers, that will grab viewers, that sticks with people. I think because people are specifically pitching a short doc, you can take a look at some of the work that area has done. It's a wide range from very intimate stories to quirky things. I know that right now there's something in development on ketchup and on Jamaican patty wars, to reunion stories. So there's really a wide range. It's really about the characters and following some kind of unfolding story.
Yeah, that's really helpful to know. And you mentioned there's a wide range. Is there any types of projects specifically that you'd like to see pitched, or any specific kind of takes that you and your team are interested in at the moment?
I know that with short docs, it's all the ones that sort of really are successful, and Mélanie can chime in here too because she has experience with short docs as well, are the ones that are able to combine something that makes you laugh and also something that makes you cry. Leslie Burchard, who looks after short docs, always says that the really winning documentaries are the ones that are able to touch people in both of those ways. And I think that is a through line in so many of the ones that have been successful.
Yeah, the only thing I would add to that is just, show off your access. If it's a deeply personal story, then definitely only you can tell that story. And I think some of the more poignant short docs have that in their corner and use it really wisely in their storytelling.
Yeah. And to Mélanie, what are some types of content? What's some type of content that CBC, the YA Digitals, is making? And if you can talk more, I think you kind of touched on it, but talk more about like the audience for that type of content.
Yeah, so we made the shift to target this audience fairly recently. So there's not that much content to point to as a reference. But it's sort of a corner where we haven't really delved into too much. And it's actually really exciting to do because we're seeing how much creators, producers, writers want to tell stories about coming of age. And so for us, we're really focusing on telling stories that are highly specific, that sort of subvert expectations of the YA genre or teen genre, and to a certain extent explore some hotbed issue and sort of advances the conversation on that. So some of the series that have done really well and that I still think could appeal to that target audience are series like Next Stop, which is a comedy anthology series, and The 410, which is a little bit odd because it's not exactly short form, but I think those point to the approach in storytelling that we do in digital originals. So in terms of genre, we've covered a lot of different genres: comedy, drama, and hybrids of those as well, touched a bit on horror and supernatural. But at the core of it, it's, are the characters that we're following different and interesting and just completely compelling, and hopefully that rises to the top because we're just sort of bombarded with so many avenues to watch content. So, you know, we really want to find that special gem, and you know, specificity really helps in that regard. So hopefully that's helpful in with the references and what I've described here to sort of, you know, give you an idea of what we're looking for in this space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you mentioned, like, because this is sort of a newer initiative, that there's not much to kind of point to at the moment.
Yeah.
But is there any type of content that you, or stories that you and your team are specifically looking out for at the moment?
No, I think it's really hard to answer that question, because oftentimes the things that we're looking for, we don't know we're looking for. And in the pitch, we just become completely surprised by something we've never heard of, or a perspective we've never thought about. And that's what's so great about our jobs, is that we're hearing all these different types of stories that, you know, we're just not exposed to. So, you know, we like to be surprised in this line of work. And so there's not one specific things. It's, you know, we want to find something fresh and new, and that really touches us, you know.
Yeah.
And I find that filmmakers are most successful when they aren't trying to sort of bend to fit what they think we want, when they're being true to themselves and the authentic story that they want to tell. You know, so I think that's why it's hard to get an answer from us. It's not that we're holding back. It's really that the most successful filmmakers are telling the story they want to tell. Yeah,
totally. I hear that. I definitely think could surprise you, and you never know what you might like in the end, right? Yeah, and because this is kind of like youth geared, are you open to other like series for other types of platforms? You know, there's a lot of storytelling on Instagram and Snapchat and TikTok, and so is this strictly for TV and CBC Gems, or an online, or can people pitch for other platforms?
Well, in terms of YA digital originals, we're in a unique position where, you know, we know that the content that we have on CBC Gem, for example, isn't appealing to the audience we're targeting necessarily. So we're really looking to engage with other platforms like TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook and Instagram to help us sort of you know, show off the content that we do have on Gem. So we're always going to be open to hearing different types of strategies to get the content we have on CBC Gem discovered. So we always try to remain sort of open-minded, because the audience that we're targeting is on those platforms, and we sort of have to work to make sure we get some of those to come check out the content on CBC Gem. So it's definitely a possibility we're willing to explore, and we're excited to hear your ideas if you choose to incorporate that in the pitch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can add to that you know, if you have us as a point person, we can also help you connect with others within CBC who may be looking for content for those platforms.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would think it would be useful if, you know, in your pitches, you kind of mention if you kind of see like potential for use of other platforms as well, right? Outside of traditional media. And speaking of the pitches, I'd like to ask both of you, what do you have any tips that will make a pitch stand out to you? Like on paper, obviously you're not hearing them talk about it, so this is on paper. Are there any specifics that applicants should include?
I would say for me, it's clarity in what they're describing. I think sometimes people feel as though they have to pitch a big volume, so 50 pages, and fully describe the film that they have to make. And really that's not necessary. I find that there's more clarity often with fewer words. So I would encourage everyone to really think about their focus and how you would describe the film in the simplest terms so that people understand. It doesn't mean it has to be a simple film. It just means that you should find a way to describe it that you can do in an efficient manner. I think that's always helpful. And to know that, you know, you're not locked in, because there's still going to be a development period. And if you want to move in other directions or new ideas come, those can always follow, but it's about getting the initial concept down in a clear fashion.
Definitely. I mean, I agree with Michelle. Being concise and clear is so important in a pitch document. And just to add to that, like, again, talking about these three different components of the competition with Spotlight and the pitch package and then the live pitch, how do you use those three things to fill in the gaps, right? Because there's things you can do on paper that you can't when you're doing live or in your film. So just being really cognizant of how you're pitching the project as a whole, and not necessarily, repeating information that might be somewhere else. So that hopefully will help you being concise and clear. I think the other element too is, not being shy to show off your writing style and personality. I kind of I get so excited when I hear humor or when I see a really differently laid out pitch document. It really does stand out. And so don't be shy to really show off who you are in your writing. And with that, if you do have space, and I'm not sure like if this is allowed, but also who's telling the story, like who are you, and giving us an idea of where the story is coming from is important context sometimes.
Yeah, totally. We actually have some questions, 2 questions on our Facebook Live right now in regards to the pitch. Our first question, in regards to the pitch, are you guys looking for project Bibles or any visual aids in the submissions? That's the first question.
So for scripted, yeah, a Bible it can be quite onerous. Like it can be multiple pages, and that might not be necessary. I think usually a pitch document will be, 1 to 2 pages, and that's sufficient. Visuals are always great. It doesn't necessarily have to be that. You can reference different pieces of content, and hopefully we know what they are, and that can help us along. I don't know how different it is for Michelle, but.
No, I would say the same. I would say, 1 to 2 pages is a really good rule of thumb. And if you want to give us a sense of visual style, references work. I mean, if you have something recorded that you've done and you want to, link to that, that is always helpful. But I wouldn't go out and make a big work project about it, because again, that would be a deliverable as you go through the development process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good to know. And we have another question that asks, are there any examples of pitch outlines that you can direct us to? Is there any resources at the top of your mind, or even from CBC, that you could guide applicants towards?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Might be tough to think on the spot about it, but
will you be covering that at all in the workshops? Because I think maybe as you talk to the people, the applicants, about log lines and synopses and treatments, that will sort of give you a sense. And I think in the interim, Mel and I can see if there are any references out there that we can share.
Definitely, that's something that we should try to develop in order to guide producers. I think a good rule of thumb is making sure that you have a logline synopsis, some character descriptions, a sense of visual treatment or tone. And then if you have any reference points or even audience specificity there, that's just extra that helps a lot. So hopefully that gives you an idea. And those things can be ordered in many different ways. They don't have to be exactly like that. But yeah, having some sort of template I think would be useful to share. I'm not sure where we could source that at this time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's fair. I know. I'm sure there's like resources online for this, and people kind of put together pitches different ways as well. So and as you both mentioned, you can be creative and kind of personalize it a little bit as well too, right? So
yeah.
And honestly, people pitch in so many ways. Documents come, as Melanie said, there's no one order to do it. Sometimes people just, I mean, some people load it with graphics and other things. Sometimes people it's a blank page, and often the blank page with, the synopsis and the log line and the treatment are more clear. So,
yeah. We have 2 more questions. Let me just go back and make sure I'm not missing any other. yeah, I'll go through these questions first. Are you looking for any budgetary information in the pitch document? So I know this year we've taken out the budget component. I think we've had that in the past, but we've taken it out, and I believe that's something that will be the winners kind of will do with CBC. I think once your project is chosen, right? Correct?
Yeah, that's correct. I think once the selection's made, and then we will talk with the filmmakers about what they want to do in development and what the deliverables will be. We'll discuss that together and decide. Then the budget will come. That makes the most sense when you know what actually you're going to be delivering through the development process.
Okay, yeah, and like, would it be helpful at all for them to add like a rough, like not a detailed budget, but like a rough number if they include that in their pitch, or?
I don't know. For me, no, but no.
It's not as relevant at this stage. So I would say no, but if it's there, I mean, it doesn't really hurt.
Okay, good to know. And the last question we have here, if I have only directed 2 90-second teasers, do I qualify as an emerging director? These 2 teasers, by the way, are tied to bigger projects, springboards, and they have 1-pagers and first drafts already. Ooh, I'm sorry, it's really loud back here. I hope you guys can't hear that. But yeah, does this person qualify as an emerging director? I would say yes.
Sure.
Yeah. Would you guys agree?
Yeah, I
For
would
sure.
say yes.
Yeah, I would say yes. And I think we just have a few minutes left. I'll end off by asking, do you have any tips for what not to do in your application? Anything that's like a big no to you right off the bat, you see it and you would not consider them because of it?
I can't think of a big no. I mean, I would say, other than, not trusting your vision, I know it's a bit corny, but I can't think of a big no.
Yeah, I can't think of anything for this like creative component, because it's sort of like there are no boundaries at this creative stage, so.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, that totally makes sense. I'm just going to check to make sure we don't have any more questions. Someone asked a similar question to what I just asked, but are there any common pitch mistakes / red flags you have come across?
Sort of at the paper pitch stage, or in a sort of in-person pitch, I guess is.
I'm going to assume they're asking on paper. Yeah.
Well, I mean, one is just like a very a simple thing, but sometimes people use fonts that don't actually show up because of a dark background. So like because of the graphics on the pitch package, which we always appreciate, it always looks great, but sometimes it doesn't show up, and then it's very difficult to read, or not, there's no text at all. So just making sure that you're testing out, if you're handing in a very graphics heavy package, just testing it out and sending it to others so that it feels very legible.
Yeah, good tip. You want to be able to read it.
Yeah. And I would say one thing is not describing what the story is. And again, it goes back to being focused and concise, because sometimes we can go through several pages and be unclear as what is the story you're telling here. I think it's worth doing a double check that in everything you've described, you've been clear about the story.
Yeah.
Awesome. So we've come to the end of our time. Thank you both so much for joining me. And if anyone's watching and has questions after the fact, after this, definitely feel free to send me a message. And I can answer any questions anyone has as they're putting together their application. But yeah, thank you both so much. And
thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Excited to see what comes through.
Me too.
Me too.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
See ya.